Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. In our top stories in this edition of the news, a former member of the Cameroon government, Professor Titus Ezua, condemns President Paul Biya's determination to use military force to solve the Anglophone crisis that has continued deepening for close to 3 years. Today, he has once more called for a ceasefire as the beginning of the solution to the crisis rogging the northwest and the southwest regions of the country. Also in this newscast, we shall tell you how the crisis has been spilling to other parts of the country, notably localities along the borders between southwest, northwest, and the littoral and west regions of the country. The locality of Mombo was attacked recently and one person killed. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of the news on Equinoxe television. The impact of the Anglophone crisis that has been deepening for close to 3 years today is now being felt by inhabitants of some localities along the borders between some localities in the littoral and west regions of the country. Along the border with the crisis hit southwest and northwest regions of the country. The last locality that came under the attack of suspected pro-independence fighters is the locality of Mombo, where one person was killed. Immaculate Fogwe.
Heavily armed unidentified individuals have attacked Mokbo in the Mungu division found in the littoral region. The attack, which started at 10 p.m., led to the killing of 2 persons and 1 other wounded. The Mokbo Gendarmerie and Traditional Police equally affected by the attacks as traces of bullets and gunshots could be seen on the doors. A victim explains, "I was lying on the bed when they bumped into my house. They seized my phone and laptop and equally pointed a gun on my neck. They later tied my hands to a pole, but luckily enough, I was able to liberate myself and escape." The attack has inflicted a lot of panic and fear in the minds of these individuals, as they explain once more. "Since the eruption of the Anglophone crisis, we have never experienced any attack, but today, we have been affected. The sound of gunshots have instilled fear in some of us, making us to flee into bushes to seek for refuge. We are calling on the president to protect us. It is really a sad situation." This other inhabitant says, "The government should react immediately. This crisis has lasted for so long. If care is not taken, we will soon be addressed as internally displaced persons. It is the planting season, but none of the women were able to move outside because of fear." It should be noted that Mokbo lies at the border with the trouble-hit southwest region and is harboring more than 100 of internally displaced persons from the southwest region of the country.
And a former member of the Cameroon government, Professor Titus Ezua, has condemned the determination of the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, to use military force to solve the problem. Professor Titus Ezua, former Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic, called for a ceasefire in a letter he addressed to the President of the Republic. For me, Armstrong Sander has more.
In a letter dated February 13, 2019, Titus Ezua, former Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic of Cameroon, proposes to Paul Biya a set of solutions to lighten the socio-political atmosphere in Cameroon. Titus Ezua spoke on the crackdown on political opponents, the Anglophone crisis, lashing out on what he calls cosmetic solutions adopted by the Biya regime to resolve the Anglophone crisis. Titus Ezua said Paul Biya should liberate Professor Maurice Kamto of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement political party and his party supporters and sympathizers in order to relax the sickening socio-political atmosphere in Cameroon. He demands that rigor be exercised vis-à-vis individuals who vandalized Cameroonian embassy properties in Paris, France, and Berlin, Germany. They be judged and made to pay for their crimes individually. The deepening Anglophone crisis and solutions adopted so far also preoccupied Titus Izwa. Titus Izwa cited measures taken by the government of Cameroon, which to him have remained ineffective. The release of some 289 detainees of the Anglophone crisis, multiple encounters with stakeholders both at the national and international level to him have all been fruitless. Titus Izwa further blames President Paul Biya for his fully stated determination to use military force to resolve the Anglophone crisis. Titus Izwa, a surgeon by training, also recalled the harsh economic consequences of the socio-political atmosphere in Cameroon. Quoting GICAM's report of September 13, 2018, the former minister stated that Cameroon has lost 269 billion francs CFA in key sectors as a result of the Anglophone crisis. Among the solutions proposed, Titus Izwa asked Paul Biya to call for a national dialogue, including stakeholders in the conflict, alongside political party representatives, religious authorities, and civil society organizations. He also believes that a general amnesty to all those implicated by the political challenges in Cameroon will bring the country to its place of one-time paradise of peace in Africa.
In the report coming up next, a Northwest correspondent, Stella, takes a look at the challenges on the shoulders of some elements of the National Armed Forces who recently received epaulets, raising them to higher ranks. She takes a look at the climate of the environment where they are going to be working a very difficult terrain, notably the Northwest region characterized by gun battles, killings, destruction of properties, and of course all what has been happening within the context of the deepening Anglophone crisis. Stella.
After spending 2 years on the field in the crisis-hit Northwest region, these 120 have been conferred the rank of gendarme, confirming them as elements of the National Gendarmerie. During their on-the-ground training, they received practical lessons on maintaining public order, among others.
I've been trained to respect human rights, which I've been doing, respect to be firm, and respect state institutions. That is when you work hard, you defend the state, and then you work in accordance with the laws and regulations, you are compensated. Those who have not been able to make it today will have to wait for their own turn.
In the strictly military-style ceremony that took place at the 5th Joint Military Region, the newly promoted had their new ranks placed on their shoulders. Despite the challenging work environment in the Northwest region, characterized by beheadings, frequent gun battles in many areas of the region as Ambazonia fighters battle for independence of the southern Cameroons, the French gendarmes are not indifferent to the excitement that goes with every promotion.
Most of my friends they are not granted this gallon because of what it is in school. But I'm so happy and I'm fortunate to have this gallon. I'm so very happy.
I feel very happy and I ask God to give us strength to continue to be passionate and disciplined for us, for our careers to be long and successful.
These officers are beginning their career at a time when the country's territorial integrity is at stake in the 2 English-speaking regions. They are therefore expected to apply the knowledge gained in order to lay to rest the insecurity caused by the deepening Anglophone crisis, while also upholding human rights. In order to have a long and successful career, Colonel Kwamala Valère Sidoni, Northwest Legion Commander, prescribes hard work and discipline to the fresh officers. The ceremony wraps up with a march past and a reception in honor of the fresh men and women of the National Gendarmerie.
And at a time when widespread criticism has been raining on forces of law and order with regards to the management of public protests in Cameroon, authorities are now taking measures to curb the excesses usually noticed during the management of public protests in the country. Some elements of the National Gendarmerie and the National Police Force have been trained and well equipped in order to better manage public protests in the country. Details in this report. Police and gendarme officers making a demonstration of skills and know-how acquired during a 1.5 month training at the International School of Security Forces in Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé. At a time when widespread condemnation of violent repression and violation of human rights in the management of public protests is raining on forces of law and order in Cameroon, Brigadier General Andre Patrice Bitote, Director General of the International School of Security Forces, says the 118 elements of the National Armed Forces have been equipped with tools that will enable them to be efficient in the discharge of their duties.
We've been trained how to calm down the crowd. In terms of manifestations, we are able to calm down the population without any injury.
They were trained by a pedagogic team of public order specialists of the International School of Security Forces, certified by the United Nations Organization. Brigadier General Andre Patrice Bitote has urged them to make judicious use of the skills acquired. And police officers and all that stuff. And that is those are the efforts that government is making to ensure that police officers as well as gendarme officers manage public protests within the ambits of laws. In the meantime, workers' trade unionists in the Republic of Cameroon are announcing tough times. In order, they are saying that they are going to be undertaking tougher actions to get results, notably with regards to the cry and request for governments to improve the conditions of workers across the country. The General Trade Union of Workers of Cameroon goes to war against the poor treatment of employees across the country. Meeting in Yaoundé in their General Assembly, the trade unionists announced a merciless war against the plethora of problems affecting millions of Cameroonians.
Nous allons lancer de plus en plus de grèves et de manifestations publiques.
We will launch many more strike actions and public protests. We have to use deadly weapons. For close to a decade today in Cameroon, we have tried to use social dialogue to no avail. Social dialogue is just a far-fetched slogan in Cameroon.
C'est un slogan creux au Cameroun.
They promised to go the extra mile because, according to the trade union, government's social dialogue policy is a failure.
La population entière et les travailleurs en particulier.
The population and workers in particular are suffering the effects of globalization. People are unable to meet their basic needs, thus the war against the wild capitalism.
À ce capitalisme sauvage.
The trade unionists said they will begin unveiling their war strategy in the days ahead in a bid to compel government to take measures and actions to improve on the poor and even precarious working conditions of Cameroonians. Coming up, we're going to talk about the debate on the franc CFA currency that is being used in many African nations, notably former colonies of France or better still countries of Francophone Africa, at a time when the debate is rising on with some stakeholders and experts calling on African nations to stop using the franc CFA currency and get their own currency in order to enhance development efforts. The president of Ivory Coast, Alassane Dramane Ouattara, speaking at the Élysée Palace in the French capital city, Paris, instead expressed a contrary opinion, indicating that that debate is not worth putting on the table because the franc CFA currency can still be used by African nations to get developed, or better still, industrialized. Details in this report by Innocent Azie, who spoke to an economist who reacted to the statements made by Ivorian President Alassane Dramane Ouattara.
The CFA franc squabble has continued dividing France and Italy in terms of opinion on the economies of African countries using the currency. Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara, after he was received in France by President Emmanuel Macron, was questioned on the CFA franc subject by journalists. Responding to the press, he termed the franc squabble as a false debate, maintaining that the currency is solid, well managed and appreciated. He added that, regularly criticized in the African countries that use it, the CFA franc has enemies up to Europe, with Italy accusing France of using the currency used by many African nations to settle its public debts. According to an economist, Dr. Simon Basiliken-Domilep, no country in the world has ever developed while its currency is being managed by a different nation. Using the CFA franc to him implies all what such a relying country reserves cannot pilot development, as 74% is lost. So because 50% is kept in the French treasury, 15% charged for printing of the currency by France to African countries, and 9% charged on all other transactions carried out in the diaspora.
Vous me confiez vos économies. Vous n'êtes même pas capable de savoir ce que j'en fais.
This is argued by Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara, who further stressed that the CFA franc, which existed since independence in the 1960s, is solid, appreciated and well managed, thus instigating the growth rates of the 8 West African countries that use the currency. He added, they are very happy to use the CFA franc that is stabilizing and promises timely reforms. To the economist, Dr. Simon Basiliken-Domilep, Cameroon and the other 14 African countries using the CFA franc can never develop once 74% of its revenue goes to France. He asked that for each country to be sovereign, it needs to have its own state treasury and have its own central bank to have a vibrant economy.
Qu'on peut définir et appliquer une politique économique.
Some critics believe economies of the 14 African countries using the CFA franc keep drowning as they announce dependence on European monetary policy, and not like the Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara, who claps and dances for the CFA franc currency.
And before we get more news out of the country, we talk about the causes of accidents on highways across the Republic of Cameroon. It should be noted that accidents have been occurring at very close intervals of time in the country, leading to several persons dead, and many of the accidents occur on the highways linking 3 major towns of the country: the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, the economic capital, Douala, the West Regional Chief Town, Bafoussam, and this has become has been given the attribute, the triangle of death, because of the rising rate of accidents on these highways. And coming up, Immaculate Fugue takes us through national highways number 3 and 5.
According to some Cameroonians, traveling by land is a scary experience. Even those who don't believe in God tend to call the name Jesus whenever the car bumps into a pothole. Though the bad state of some roads are to be blamed for most accidents, other causes like overspeeding, distraction to driving, and non-adherence to street signs have equally led to constant road accidents, especially on the National Road number 3 and National Road number 5, as explained by this chief battalion.
The major offense that resurfaces is overspeeding. Overspeeding always come up. Out of about 50 offenses since yesterday, about 90% is overspeeding. The others are bad tires, lack of first aid boxes. Those are minors, but the major offense is overspeeding.
Now, do you observe?
Highway signs play a great role in alerting drivers on the speed limit, bring attention to construction works and hazards such as turns and speed hills found ahead. But the insufficient availability and in some cases dilapidated state of some road signs have greatly contributed to road accidents on this stretch of road, as explained by this road user.
We have to drive according to signals, speed indications, but we don't have them in the way. We don't have them. If they are there, we don't see them because it seems they are hidden. We don't see them. When I was going, even I was going, I saw a signalization, a speed indication. The thing that they've painted in black. I didn't know if it's 60 or 90. They've painted the speed signal.
Though over 60% of fatal and ghastly road accidents in Cameroon have been attributed to reckless driving of most road users, people are of the opinion that the government has a role to play by putting more efforts to help regulate some causes.
We'll be coming back to this in greater details in the second segment of this newscast. More news out of the country right now. In the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the country's President Muhammadu Buhari vows to deal with vote riggers. He says he has ordered the police and military to be ruthless with vote riggers following the last-minute postponement of the general election. Critics said his comments condone jungle justice. The incumbent president also said the Electoral Commission is incompetent and ordered an investigation into why the vote was delayed. Election officials attributed the postponement to logistical constraints during an emergency meeting of his All-Progressive Congress Party in Abuja. The country's capital, President Muhammadu Buhari questioned the reasons cited by the Electoral Commission. He said anyone who decides to snatch ballot boxes or use thugs to disturb the vote, maybe this will be the last unlawful action he will take. Buhari went further to say anyone who will try to interfere with the election will do so at the expense of his own life. And that's it for the first part of this newscast. Coming up next is Talking Point. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us in Talking Points. We're receiving NGOCHIA Fidelis. He's a road safety expert, Secretary General of the Cameroon Association for the Defense of Accident Victims. NGOCHIA Fidelis, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to. It's a pleasure for me to bring me to your platform again once more.
You've been on the ground advocating for road safety for quite a number of years today, but the number of road accidents on highways across the country has continued increasing, especially on what is today known as the Triangle of Death, linking Yaoundé, Douala, and Bafoussam. Where is the problem?
Yeah, the Triangle of Death was codenamed since 2012, 2013, as I can say it. But if we say that road accidents in Cameroon have been increasing, I will not accept that fact, because the government for now has been taking some good drastic measures to ensure that road accidents are being demolished in accordance with the UN declaration on reducing road accidents by half in 2020. The Cameroon government is not left out on that.
And but where are we in Cameroon today?
Yeah, but that's what I want to say, that we still have some lapses. Like just 2 days ago, the government released a report on speed management in Cameroon, where they were showing speed reports from Douala to Yaoundé, showing a series of companies and how many times that the speed cameras have been tracking those cars. So I just want to say that that is a step, that is a progressive step from the government. But now it comes back now.
And despite all what government has been doing, and non-governmental organizations like Kadva, we still have tens of persons who are dying.
That is why I want to say
on the highway, Douala Bafoussam highway.
I want to say that the government still have much to do. Like I saw in your report there, gendarme officer declaring speed. We have speed, but we also have environmental factors. In July last year, I presented on a topic: the absence of road signs and pictograms in Cameroon is an increasing factor to road accidents. But the government hasn't gone to that. The government, through the Ministry of Public Works, which is in charge of... Let me start.
Today, those pictograms are still absent.
That's what I want to say. That's what I want to say. That the government, through the Ministry of Public Works, need to do what we call a systematic auditing of road infrastructures in Cameroon. So we see where there are no signs, we see where there are potholes, and then we put strategic management programs to build those standards to ensure that accidents are being diminished.
Is it a problem?
At times we attribute these accidents to speed, but the problem is the absence of a road sign or pictogram to orientate the driver on which speed to use at that environmental area.
And you have been advocating for pictograms, road signs, and so on for quite a long period of time now. But until today, we don't have road signs in many parts of our highways. Where is the problem? Is it
exactly that is the problem that's the problem of the administration. That's the problem of the administration, because road safety in Cameroon is not managed by the Minister of Transport. When we write to the Minister of Transport, they will tell us that infrastructure is managed by the Ministry of Public Works. So you see, the responsibility is not attributed. So you cannot lay blames. You don't know where to lay blames. When you lay blames to A, they'll tell you to lay to C, and then they tell you to lay to D. So the government need to put a leading road safety agency in Cameroon that will manage the affairs of the road. And from there, Cameroonians now can ask the director of that agency, what is happening? What are you doing? That every day we are registering accidents. And that's why the UN Road Safety Collaboration Council is asking on every government to ensure that by 2020, we need to have a lead road safety agency in each country, member state, to the United Nations Organization.
And apart from the absence of pictograms and road signs, there is equally the big problem of the bad state of many roads in Cameroon today.
That is what I talked about, environmental structures. If the government has a road safety auditing management system, if the government has a lead road safety agency, they will elaborate a series of strategies and policies and procedures on how to audit our road on a daily basis, to know that when you sit in your office in Yaoundé, you know that the road from Maroua to Kuseri has potholes. The route from Douala to Bafoussam does not have road signs. The route from Douala to Yaoundé lack this, that. But if there's no lead agency, if there's nobody with the responsibility to manage those things, it will remain as it is now. The government will be attacked. They'll send gendarmes, they'll send police, who has the responsibility.
So the measures that are being taken right now with the road safety campaigns that are being organized by the Ministry of Transport and its delegations and so on, they are not yielding fruits.
I said they are yielding fruits haphazardly. Those measures cannot be classified as a systematic road safety management policy or program, because the responsibility is shared, is collective. Well, if you say now that from Douala to Yaoundé, the road signs here and there are not updated, they are lacking, and you send to the Ministry of Transport, they will take it and send to the Ministry of Public Works. It will take 1 year, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years to get the solution. But if we have a lead management agency that is running those programs, it will not take 1 month. It will not take 1 week. The director of that agency will stand to take Cameroonians or to respond to that request to ensure that the road is updated. And that's why we are asking this government. But I recognize the fact that from the past year, 2017, we have been working with the government together, and they say there's a law, there's a project of law in place to put a national road safety agency in Cameroon by March 2019. And so we are waiting on them to see whether would they put it. If they don't put it, we are going to Greece very soon on the Global Road Safety Agency, global NGOs for road safety agency working with
and,
the
and will not go without talking about the issue of the behavior of drivers on the highways.
That is why I come back to that. I saw the officer there talking speed good, but what is on the road? You see, there are some drivers that can be driving who they are illiterate. They cannot read online and write. The language of signs and pictograms is to teach those who that cannot read. So if the driver cannot read, but they showed him a sign that when you see this on the road, means that this is the speed you have to take.
But in some places those signs are there. In some places those signs are there. The speed control measures are there, and even within the cities we have the traffic lights, but which are never respected. Sometimes
it is not respected. It is still coming back to a supervisory, to what we call supervisory operational management strategy system that is lacking from the local governments in the city, is lacking from the central government in Yaoundé. We, the NGOs, what is bad here in Cameroon is that the Cameroon government does not recognize the efforts of NGOs. They believe that NGOs are being run by illiterates. They believe that NGOs cannot tell them anything.
All right, coming up,
which is not right.
You're going to be undertaking some actions in the days ahead with regards to the World Day for the fight against road accidents.
Exactly. The World Day for Road Accidents 20, that's the 5th Global UN Road Safety Week, is coming from the 6th of May to the 12th of May. And it is focused on leadership, which means that advocates like us, we have to organize advocacy programs that are dedicated to call the attention of public authorities, call the attention of political leaders on the necessity of upgrading adequate leadership programs and management system to uphold road accidents in Cameroon and the world at large.
All right, thanks very much, NGOCHIA. Fidelis, you are road safety expert and Secretary General of CADVA. Thanks for coming.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for this edition of the news. Goodbye.
Thank you.